Alyssa Thomas threw an elbow at Caitlin Clark's head in the fourth quarter, and the referee called the foul on Clark. Then, in the same quarter, Clark got a technical for clapping. Not trash talk, not a shove, not a stare down, just clapping her hands. That sequence tells you everything you need to know about the physicality Phoenix was trying to start in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. What Thomas didn't count on was that Clark now has two teammates who will absolutely wreck you for touching their point guard, and they absolutely did as Caitlin Clark's enforcers destroy Clark's biggest attacker, Alyssa Thomas. What do you think of Sophie and Maisha? Let me know down in the comments below. Alyssa Thomas had a very specific job. Get physical with Clark every time she came near the paint, set screens that felt more like car crashes, throw elbows in the post, and just generally make Indiana's offense miserable from the opening tip. Thomas ran that same playbook in 2024 when she straight up body-checked Clark and the refs put their whistles in their pockets and watched it happen. Phoenix remembered that it worked, so they brought it back.
Take another look here at the heavy contact. A little bit of a shoulder there. Not a little bit, a lot of a shoulder there for Alyssa Thomas.
Yeah, they're not going to look at this. I thought they might.
It's gotten the fans here fired up.
The Fever looked completely stuck in that first quarter. The shot selection was off, ball movement dried up, and Indiana just couldn't generate anything clean against Phoenix's physical defense. Kelsey Mitchell actually hit a three-pointer in the final seconds of the period, and without that shot, the Fever would have finished the quarter with 3 points total. 3. That's one made field goal in 10 minutes of professional basketball, and Phoenix was absolutely feeding off it. Now, the elbow. In the fourth quarter, Thomas and Clark got tangled up in a loose ball situation, and Thomas threw an elbow directly at Clark's head. Multiple camera angles caught it clean. There's no ambiguity in the footage, no angle where you think maybe Thomas didn't do what she clearly did. The referee reviewed the play and called the foul on Clark, not Thomas. Clark, who dodged what easily could have been ruled a flagrant 2 foul, walked away from that play with the foul on her own stat line. That's not the kind of missed call where a ref is screened out and just doesn't see contact. That's a ref watching the whole thing happen, seeing Clark absorb an elbow, and then deciding Clark was the problem. It's a different category of bad. And if that wasn't enough, Clark picked up a technical foul shortly after in the same sequence. Not for arguing, not for getting in Thomas's face, not for saying anything to the officials. She clapped her hands. That was it. The ref teed her up for clapping. Picture this pattern going back to 2024. Thomas hits Clark, nothing gets called. Or worse, the call goes against Clark. It's been consistent enough that it stopped feeling like coincidence a long time ago. Clark was supposed to just absorb it, keep running the offense, and pretend none of it was happening.
At 41, 12 on the shot clock. Thomas bumps off Clark, misses. And then
What Phoenix completely miscalculated is that the Indiana Fever roster in 2026 isn't the same group Thomas pushed around a year ago, and the moment she started throwing elbows, she woke up 2 players who'd been waiting for exactly that invitation. 15 points in 1 quarter. Clark dropped 15 points in the second quarter alone, attacking Phoenix off the dribble, pulling up from deep, and suddenly a team that looked completely dead was back in the game and eventually tied it at 41 at halftime.
Clark from way outside drops a 3! Couple 50-50 balls on the last 2 possessions have gone the way of Phoenix, and it turned into buckets. Clark, oh yeah! Here we go! Clark almost got that 5th foul. Find inside. It's Boston.
The Clark-Billings connection was a big part of that stretch, and Fever fans have been waiting to see it click since Billings joined the roster. Clark talked about this after the game, pointing out that in the WNBA, you don't get a lot of time to develop chemistry with teammates, but she and Billings built that connection playing together internationally on Team USA, and you could see it in real time during that second quarter. Clark threaded passes into the post, Billings caught them and finished, not fumbling or bobbling, just catching and scoring. Raven Johnson found her spots too, so Phoenix couldn't just collapse on Clark and call it a defensive plan.
Indiana brings a double that time.
Clark. Mitchell is on an island. Clark wants to keep piling on. When will they pick her up here? She's not been afraid to let it fly from out there. Clark just spins off of Broshan. Indiana has numbers. Clark launch ahead. And Hall hits a three.
While Clark was dragging Indiana back into the game, Phoenix kept playing defend Clark even though they were still new teammates. Cunningham drew a line around cheap shots and eye-poking and didn't care which jersey Clark was wearing when she drew it.
Sophie commits a hard foul on JC Sheldon. Again, as JC Sheldon is going up for a layup, Sophie bear hugs her and takes her to the ground. What I will say is Sophie did not grab her and throw her to the ground. She didn't body slam her. She didn't do anything, in my personal opinion. Maybe I'm biased here, but I'm gonna give you guys my straight up honest opinion on this. She bear hugged her, took her to the ground. Yes, it was intentional.
Cunningham actually explained her thinking on this, saying that when you love people, you just want them to be good and be their best selves. That's not a complicated philosophy, but it explains why she reacts the way she does, because it's not about basketball tactics or team strategy, it's just about not letting people get away with dirty play against someone she cares about. Now that they're running it back, that protectiveness has no limits. Cunningham spaces the floor well enough that she can't be ignored on offense. She plays physical defense, and she will absolutely not let anyone put their hands on Clark without answering for it. In the fourth quarter, Cunningham picked up a technical in the middle of the chaos, and she didn't seem particularly bothered by it because letting Bonner think she could keep escalating without any response was never an option Sophie was willing to consider. Against Chicago, because that game explains everything about what Hines-Allen did on June 22nd and why it mattered so much. JC Sheldon has a history of going after Clark's eyes, and in that Chicago game she swiped down at Clark on one play, then tried it again on a separate possession. Clark had to deal with that while also running the offense, calling plays, and trying to win a basketball game, which is a genuinely unfair thing to ask of anyone. Hines-Allen watched it happen from the other end of the court, and she didn't forget it.
Feed. Boston can't finish. Pass ahead. Sheldon. Swatted!
A few possessions later, Sheldon drove to the basket and Hines-Allen absolutely destroyed her with a block that sent Sheldon crashing to the floor. Not a clean basketball play that happened to be physical, a full demolition. The cameras caught Clark's reaction on the sideline right after, and she had this look on her face that was almost sympathetic, like she felt a little bad for Sheldon even though Sheldon had been trying to poke her in the eyes minutes earlier. That contrast between Hines-Allen's ferocity and Clark just standing there looking almost sorry for the person who got wrecked was honestly pretty funny. But let's talk about why that moment connects so directly to June 22nd. For a long time, Clark absorbed cheap shots in the WNBA with very little protection from her teammates or the officials, and the league's pattern of letting physical play against Clark go uncalled became a whole ongoing conversation among fans and analysts. Clark would get hit, the whistle wouldn't come, and she'd just have to keep playing. That was the deal, apparently. So when Thomas threw that elbow on June 22nd and the ref called it on Clark instead, Hines-Allen stepped in immediately. The confrontation with Thomas escalated. Hines-Allen shoved Thomas, and because she'd already picked up one technical in the chaos, the second one got her ejected from the game. She left the court having defended her teammate, which cost Indiana her minutes for the rest of the night. Every player on that Fever roster watched that happen, and they all understood what it meant. Hines-Allen will go all the way to ejection before she lets someone throw elbows at Clark without a response. That changes how a locker room operates because players run harder and compete differently when they know their teammates have their backs in a real and physical way. Thomas had to know, after Hines-Allen got ejected for shoving her, that every cheap shot she threw at Clark for the rest of the season was going to get answered. Not ignored, not absorbed quietly, answered. Phoenix built their whole defensive approach around the idea that they could rough Clark up without any real consequences. And Cunningham and Hines-Allen spent June 22nd making that approach look very expensive. 6 consecutive games with at least 20 points and 5 assists. Clark broke her own WNBA record on June 22nd, and she did it while absorbing elbows, picking up a technical for clapping, and watching her teammate get ejected for defending her. That's the context around the stat line, and it makes the number hit differently. So getting fouled, dealing with phantom calls, and running an offense that needed her to be everywhere at once. Her scoring and assists accounted for over 50% of Indiana's 86 total points. So when people talk about Clark carrying this team, that's not a feeling, that's just math.
Billings. Oh, nobody picked her up. She will waltz to the rim. And Indiana has gone from down 16 to up 10.
Monique Billings finished with 14 points and 10 rebounds, and the chemistry between her and Clark that flashed during the second quarter comeback didn't fade. It held up all game. Billings caught passes in traffic and finished at the rim in a way she simply couldn't earlier in her Fever tenure. And that's the FIBA connection paying off in real time, because they logged enough hours together internationally that Clark's passes and Billings' hands are now on the same page. Kelsey Mitchell dropped 22 points on top of that, so Indiana had 3 players scoring in double figures. And that version of the Fever offense is genuinely hard to stop because Clark walked away with 24 points, the record, and a win. Billings had her double-double, Mitchell had 22, and the only thing Indiana lost was Hines-Allen's minutes after the ejection. Clark walked into the post-game press conference and didn't soften a single thing. Her exact words were, "It's ridiculous, I got a technical for clapping." And she said that with her name attached to it, on camera, in front of reporters, without any diplomatic cushion around it.
Pick up the tech tonight, 5th of the season.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I got a technical for clapping. So, like, if we should all just go on the calendar now and pick a game that I'm going to be suspended for if I'm going to get technicals for clapping. I asked Gerda. Gerda said that I got a technical for clapping. So, if any technical should be taken away, it should be that one. If it's truly for clapping, that's what they said they gave it to me for was for clapping. So it's just ridiculous. I don't understand it at all.
So even within that though, how aware do you have to be of the 8 technical fouls?
I mean, I'm going to play with emotion. I'm going to play with passion. And if they're going to give me a technical foul for clapping, then so be it. That's their choice. And
she actually went further than that. After the game, Clark confirmed that the referee, Gerda Gatling, told her the technical was for clapping and instigating. And Clark's response to that explanation was direct. Okay, then you just don't like competitive basketball, and that's just facts. That's just reality. So disappointing from them. She also pointed out, pretty sarcastically, that the league should just go ahead and mark a date on the calendar now for when she's going to get suspended, if technicals for clapping are apparently something that can happen. Coach Stephanie White handled it more carefully, acknowledging that the team needs to stay composed while also noting that certain calls can't be allowed to derail a game. That's a coached answer, but it's also a coach who clearly agreed with her player and just couldn't say it quite that plainly in an official setting. Let's talk about what Clark was actually pointing at, because she didn't spell it out completely, but the pattern is right there. Thomas threw an elbow at Clark's head and walked away clean. Clark clapped her hands and picked up a technical. Those are 2 separate plays in the same quarter where the call went against Clark, and Clark was the one absorbing contact both times. She wasn't arguing that she played a perfect game or that the Fever deserved every call. She was pointing at a specific inconsistency and naming it out loud.
The league can come back and review that play, and I'd love to hear what they say of the reasoning of why I got the technical foul in that situation and why other players on their team didn't get a technical foul in that situation. If anything, split it. Okay, fine. Everybody gets a technical foul. That wasn't how they were handed out. So I'd love to know, but obviously that's what I went to Gerda and said. I said, why'd you give me a technical foul? She said, because I was clapping and instigating. I said, okay, then you just don't like competitive basketball. And that's just facts. That's just reality. So disappointing from them.
The public reaction came fast. Yahoo Sports, Fox Sports, and international outlets all picked up her quotes within hours because the officiating conversation around Clark has been building for 2 years, and this game handed everyone fresh material to work with. It wasn't a slow burn, it spread immediately. Here's where it gets interesting, though. Clark said all of this after winning. She wasn't sitting at a podium trying to explain away a loss or redirect attention from a bad performance. She dropped 24 points, broke her own WNBA record, and then called the officiating ridiculous while sitting in the winner's seat. That's a different position to speak from, because nobody can dismiss it as sour grapes. Phoenix was coming back to face Indiana later that week. The ejection, the missed free throws, the record was going to follow both teams into that rematch. Clark now has 2 players willing to get ejected before they let someone throw elbows at her unchallenged. A team that scored 86 points despite losing Hines-Allen in the game, and a very public complaint about officiating that the league hadn't answered yet when the rematch tipped off. This Indiana Fever team doesn't quietly absorb cheap shots anymore. Cunningham and Hines-Allen made that clear on June 22nd, and every team in the WNBA watched it happen. Clark's breaking her own records, Billings is finishing at the rim, Mitchell's dropping 22 in a supporting role, and the toughness that Phoenix exploited in 2024 just isn't there to exploit anymore. Phoenix comes again in 48 hours, and Thomas and Bonner will absolutely try the same physical stuff again. Clark already told the league straight up, if they're going to give me a technical foul for clapping, then so be it. That's their choice. Cunningham and Hines-Allen will have something to say about the rest. What do you think of Sophie and Maisha? Let me know down in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications as we're bringing you all the action and top stories. Click the video on the screen, and we'll see you in the next one.